Well, hello again to all our Nativity family and friends, and welcome to this edition of the Father Robert Report. As many of you know, our season of Lent began. It began yesterday with Ash Wednesday. This season lasts for 40 days. We don't count the Sundays. It is a time to reflect on our faith. It's time to think about our need for God. For any of you who enjoy reading, especially during this time, I have a book suggestion for you. The book is called Broken Signposts by a well-known New Testament scholar named N.T. Wright. His initials stand for Nicholas Thomas Wright. It is not a book written with Lent in mind specifically, but it is a book I think can help us think about what it means to be a human being living in this big, complicated world of ours. Broken signposts. As we know, a signpost points us in the direction of some reality. If the signpost could talk, it would say something like, "Here, this way, it's this way." So N.T. Wright believes that all human cultures, no matter how varied they are, all human cultures value certain specific aspects of life: justice, love, spirituality, beauty, freedom, truth, and power. But all human cultures also experience difficulty with each of these 7 aspects. For instance, we know that life is definitely not fair for many people around the world all the time, and at least sometimes for all of us. Not fair. We want justice. We want life to be fair and right for everyone. We know that love is important. We know it is essential. We want to experience relationships that help and enrich each other. But we also know how relationships can get strained and they can get twisted, whether it's in families, in schools, at work, in whole towns, communities. We also know that truth is important, yet in the last several years we hear people say, "Well, you've got your truth and I've got my truth." So is truth based on who's talking? Is there no objective truth? Is there nothing out there that applies to all of us? Well, those are at least 3. Those are 3 of them. And each of these signposts names one of the big questions of life. We struggle to find answers to them so that we can make sense of the world. And this struggle is why N.T. Wright calls them broken signposts. Because we all have a sense that they matter, and yet we also sense that human beings, we human creatures, day in and day out, generation after generation, we cannot ever quite make them happen to any extent. So he discusses these 7. He has a chapter on each of those 7 signposts. He lays out the broken reality of each of them, as I did briefly for 3. And then he offers how the Christian faith makes sense of them. And he does this in a very specific way. He looks at stories in the Gospel of John. So he digs into John's Gospel to argue that the Christian faith is not something old-fashioned and out of date that needs defending, but rather the Christian faith is a vibrant and coherent vision that makes sense of the world and thereby provides hope and guidance for our future. Broken signposts, how Christianity makes sense of the world. N.T. Wright. Well, that's it for this edition of the Father Robert Report. And remember that God is always with us.